The smoke alarm is going off. There's a fire at 142 Lakeshore Drive. Victoria Blackwell screamed into her phone, standing 50 feet from my perfectly normal barbecue grill. But here's the insane part. Exactly 3 minutes after this fake 911 call, I discovered something that would destroy her entire fraudulent empire and expose the biggest HOA scam in Colorado history. What started as grilling burgers on a peaceful Saturday afternoon became a neighborhood revolution that freed 47 families from years of financial extortion. This wasn't just about my property rights. It was about an elaborate con game that had been running right under our noses. And the woman behind it was far more dangerous than any of us imagined. Before I tell you how this all unfolded, I have to ask, have you ever dealt with someone who thought they owned your property? Someone who made you question your own rights in your own home? Because after today's story, you might see your neighborhood differently. Share your wildest HOA encounter below, trust me. After what you're about to hear, nothing will surprise me anymore. But what I found in those county records wasn't just proof that Victoria was lying. It was evidence of something so much worse. Something that would make the FBI very, very interested in our little lakeside community. Let me paint you the scene. It's Saturday afternoon, 2:30 p.m., and I'm at my cabin on Pine Lake. Nothing fancy. Just a modest 2-bedroom place I bought last year to escape the madness of Denver's tech scene. I'm Marcus Rivera, 34, software engineer, and my biggest weekend ambition is grilling without checking emails every 5 minutes. The sun's hitting the water perfectly. There's this incredible pine-scented breeze, and I've got these thick ribeye steaks that have been marinating since yesterday morning. I fire up my charcoal Weber, yes? It has to be charcoal because I'm not a monster, and I'm thinking this is going to be the most relaxing afternoon of my month. No client calls. No debugging sessions. No traffic. Just me, my grill, and the peaceful sounds of nature. My deck overlooks the lake where families are kayaking and fishing, completely oblivious to the chaos about to unfold. I'm about 15 minutes into cooking, just hitting that sweet spot where the fat starts sizzling and creating that amazing smoky aroma. When I hear these sharp footsteps marching across the gravel driveway, not casual neighbor footsteps, these are purposeful, too aggressive footsteps that spell trouble from 50 yards away. That's when I meet Victoria Blackwell, though I won't learn her real agenda for another hour. She's striding toward me like she's leading a one-woman army, clipboard clutched against her chest like body armor, designer khaki pants, a polo shirt with some kind of official-looking logo, and the expression of someone who's never been told no in her entire privileged life. "Excuse me, sir," she shouts while she's still 20 feet away. Not hello or good afternoon, straight to excuse me in that tone that immediately puts you on the defensive. "I need to see your outdoor cooking permit." I look up from my grill, spatula in hand, genuinely confused. "I'm sorry. My what now?" She stops about 5 feet from my deck, hands planted firmly on her hips, and I swear you could cut the tension with my grilling fork. "Your permit for operating an open-flame cooking device in a residential zone. I'm Victoria Blackwell, president of the Pine Lake Estates Homeowners Association, and I need to inform you that what you're doing violates multiple community safety regulations." He blinks slowly, trying to process this. "Ma'am, I'm grilling steaks on my own property. I didn't know I needed permission to cook lunch." "You most certainly do," she snaps, flipping through papers on her clipboard like she's reading the Constitution. Unauthorized smoke emissions without proper documentation, noise pollution from that apparatus, and potential fire hazards in our pristine lakefront community. These violations carry serious fines. I look at my little Weber grill, then back at her. There's something desperate in her eyes, like she's fighting for her life instead of arguing about hamburgers. "Ma'am, with all due respect, this is my property. I bought this place specifically because I was told there were no HOA restrictions, and that's where Victoria shows her true colors." Her face flushes this incredible shade of red. She grips that clipboard like it's a weapon, and she delivers the line that's about to make her internet famous. "Oh, so you think you're special? You think you can just ignore community standards because you're some big shot from the city? Well, let me educate you about how things work in a civilized neighborhood." I'm standing there, steak juice dripping from my spatula, absolutely stunned by this escalation. "Look," Mrs. Blackwell, I understand you're concerned about community standards, but I really don't think grilling food constitutes a safety violation. Don't tell me what constitutes a violation. She cuts me off sharply. I've been managing this community standards for 3 years. I know every regulation, every safety protocol, and every legal requirement, and right now, you're in direct violation of at least 6 different codes. Now I'm thinking maybe I can de-escalate this situation. Reasonable people can have reasonable conversations. Right? Wrong. Dead wrong. What if I just finish cooking this one meal, and then we can sit down and go through whatever documentation you need me to see? She whips out her phone with the speed of a gunslinger. No negotiations. If you won't listen to reason, then the authorities will make you listen. And folks, this is where things go from weird to absolutely unhinged. This woman actually dials 911 because she doesn't like the smell of grilled meat. Yes. Hello. I need to report an immediate public safety violation at 142 Lakeshore Drive, she says, pacing back and forth while maintaining eye contact with me like a predator. There's a man here operating an unauthorized fire source in a residential area, creating hazardous smoke conditions and refusing to comply with community regulations. I'm watching this unfold like it's some kind of fever dream. She's getting more animated as she talks, her voice rising with each sentence. Yes, an actual fire. It's producing thick smoke that's contaminating our air quality and potentially endangering nearby properties. He's being completely uncooperative and potentially dangerous when confronted about safety violations. Dangerous because I'm grilling a steak. She hangs up and turns to me with this smug expression like she's just solved world peace. Emergency services are en route. Maybe they can explain to you what being a responsible neighbor means. I'm still holding my spatula, watching my perfectly good ribeye start to overcook, trying to process what just happened. You called emergency services because I'm cooking lunch? I called emergency services because you're conducting illegal outdoor fire operations in violation of homeowners association safety protocols and creating a public nuisance with your smoke emissions, and that's when I hear it in the distance. Sirens. She actually did it. There are actual police officers driving to my house because this woman has apparently never heard of the concept of minding your own business. Ma'am, I say, trying to stay calm, when the police get here, they're going to ask you what the emergency is. What exactly are you planning to tell them? She straightens up, clutches her clipboard tighter, and delivers this line with complete confidence. I'm going to tell them that you're conducting illegal barbecue operations in violation of established homeowners association regulations and creating a public safety hazard with your reckless fire management. The sirens are getting closer, and I'm starting to realize that my peaceful Saturday has just become the setup for the most ridiculous police call in the history of law enforcement. I look at Victoria. I look at my grill. I look at the beautiful lake behind us where people are peacefully fishing and kayaking, completely oblivious to the great barbecue war of 2024 happening on my deck. That's when Officer Daniel Chen pulls into my driveway. This whole situation has escalated from 0 to completely insane in the span of about 20 minutes. All because I decided to cook some meat on my own property. I'm standing here with my spatula, looking at this woman who genuinely believes she has the authority to shut down my Saturday afternoon barbecue. But little did I know that Officer Chen was about to say something that would completely flip this entire situation on its head and expose Victoria's little power trip for exactly what it really was. Officer Daniel Chen steps out of his patrol car, and I can immediately tell this guy has seen some serious stuff. He's probably early 40s. Built like someone who's been breaking up actual emergencies for 15 years. And he's got this expression that says he really hopes this isn't as ridiculous as it sounded on the radio. He walks up to us, me still holding my spatula like the world's most confused chef, and Victoria standing there like she's waiting for a medal for civic duty. Afternoon. Folks, I got a call about some kind of fire emergency and safety violations. He looks around, sees my little grill with its modest wisp of smoke, and I watch his eyebrows do this slow climb toward his hairline. The man has clearly responded to actual house fires, car accidents, and real emergencies. This is not that. Victoria immediately launches into her performance because of course she does. Officer, thank goodness you're here. This man is operating an illegal fire source and creating hazardous air conditions in our community. He's completely refused to comply with homeowners association, safety regulations, and has been extremely hostile when confronted about his violations. Officer Chen looks at my grill again, then at Victoria, then at me. There's something in his expression, a mix of professional patience and barely contained disbelief. Sir, is that a Weber kettle grill? Yes. Officer, I'm making steaks for lunch. He nods slowly, like he's processing some complex philosophical question about the nature of outdoor cooking and emergency response protocols. And ma'am, you called 911 because he's grilling food? Because he's violating multiple homeowners association safety regulations. Victoria waves her clipboard dramatically. Unauthorized smoke emissions, fire hazards, and complete disregard for community standards that protect property values and resident safety. Now here's where things get interesting. Officer Chen has been a cop in this area for 12 years. He knows every street, every property dispute, every recurring problem character. And something about Victoria's little performance is triggering his professional instincts. There's something rehearsed about her outrage, something too polished about her complaints. Ma'am, can I see some documentation of these homeowners association regulations you're referencing? Victoria starts flipping through her clipboard frantically. Well, I don't carry the complete documentation with me at all times, but I'm the duly elected president of the Pine Lake Estates Homeowners Association, and these regulations are clearly established in our community bylaws. Pine Lake Estates. Officer Chen repeats, and there's something different in his voice now, something sharper, more focused. What's the exact boundary of your homeowners association jurisdiction? And folks, this is the moment where Victoria's confident mask starts to slip just a little bit. She hesitates for just a fraction of a second, barely noticeable unless you're looking for it. The entire lakefront community. Obviously, all residential properties within the Pine Lake development area. Officer Chen pulls out his phone and starts scrolling through something with the focused intensity of a detective following a lead. The silence stretches out while he's researching, and I can see Victoria getting more fidgety by the second. She keeps glancing between him and me like she's trying to figure out if she should double down on her story or prepare an exit strategy. Finally, he looks up with an expression I can't quite read. Ma'am, I need to ask you something, and I want you to think very carefully before you answer. Victoria straightens up, trying to reclaim her authority. Of course, officer, I'm always happy to cooperate with law enforcement. Are you absolutely certain that this property falls under your homeowners association's jurisdiction? The way he asks this question, it's not casual. It's the kind of question cops ask when they already know the answer, and they're giving you one last chance to tell the truth before things get complicated. Victoria doesn't pick up on this nuance. Of course, I'm certain. I'm the president. I know every single property in our community and their compliance status. Officer Chen nods slowly, making notes. I see. And how long have you been serving as president? 3 years. I've been maintaining community standards and protecting property values for this entire neighborhood since 2021. Maintaining standards, he repeats, like he's testing how the words sound, such as enforcing regulations about outdoor cooking activities, among many other things. Yes. We have very strict guidelines about activities that could impact other residents or compromise community safety standards. I'm standing here watching this exchange, and I'm starting to get the feeling that Officer Chen knows something Victoria doesn't. There's this tension building, like watching someone walk toward a trap they can't see coming. Officer Chen puts his phone away and looks directly at Victoria with the kind of steady gaze that makes guilty people start sweating. Ma'am, I've been patrolling this area for 12 years. I know the property lines, the jurisdiction boundaries, and the legal authorities for every square foot of this county. Victoria's grip on her clipboard tightens visibly. Yes, and I'm sure you can appreciate the importance of maintaining community standards. And I need to inform you that this lakefront area, specifically the properties along this stretch of shoreline, it was never incorporated into any homeowners association jurisdiction. The silence that follows this statement is absolutely deafening. I can hear the lake water lapping against the shore, some birds chirping in the distant trees, and what I'm pretty sure is the sound of Victoria's entire world cracking apart. That's impossible, she stammers, but her voice has lost all its earlier confidence. Ma'am, when properties are incorporated into a homeowners association, there are legal documents filed with the county. Deeds are modified. Boundaries are established. And authority structures are officially recognized and recorded. Officer Chen's voice is getting more formal now. More official. This property, and several others along this shoreline, were never included in any such documentation. I'm trying not to smile, but I can feel the corners of my mouth starting to twitch upward. So what you're telling me, I say slowly, is that this lady has no legal authority over my property whatsoever? What I'm telling you, Officer Chen continues, looking directly at Victoria, is that you could set up a full barbecue restaurant out here, and she couldn't do anything about it, except maybe ask you politely to keep the noise down after 10 p.m. Victoria's face is cycling through about 7 different emotions in real time: confusion, anger, disbelief, panic, and what I think might be the dawning realization that she's been playing neighborhood dictator with absolutely no actual power. But we've been managing this community for years. She protests weakly. I have documentation, meeting minutes, established procedures. Ma'am, what you've been doing is expressing personal opinions and hoping people would listen to you. Which is fine as long as everyone understands that's all they are. Opinions with no legal weight. And then Officer Chen delivers the line that's about to become legendary in our household. You can call yourself the Queen of England if you want to. Ma'am, but that doesn't make Buckingham Palace your backyard. I completely lose it. I actually laugh so hard that I nearly drop my spatula. Victoria looks like she's been hit by a truck made of pure embarrassment and legal reality. So to clarify, Officer Chen continues, this gentleman is cooking food on his own property, which is completely legal. You called emergency services because you don't like the smell, which wastes police resources but isn't technically illegal. What is problematic is claiming authority over private property that you don't actually possess. Victoria's mouth is opening and closing like a fish trying to breathe air. I'm not claiming false authority. I am the Homeowners Association president. President of what exactly? Officer Chen asks. Because according to county records, there's no registered homeowners association that has jurisdiction over this address. And this is the moment where everything clicks into place for me. This woman has been running around the neighborhood for 3 years telling people what they can and can't do on their own property based on absolutely nothing but her own personal preferences and some kind of elaborate delusion of authority. But what Officer Chen said next would expose something far worse than just a pushy neighbor with control issues. Something that would transform this ridiculous barbecue dispute into a criminal investigation that would shake our entire community to its core. Officer Chen continues, Ma'am, what you've been doing is expressing personal opinions and hoping people would listen to you. Which is fine as long as everyone understands that's all they are. Opinions with no legal weight. But then he pauses, scrolling through his phone again with a more serious expression. Actually, there's something else here that's concerning me. Officer, can I show you something on my laptop, I ask? Suddenly remembering my software engineer instincts, I've got county property records pulled up from when I bought this place. That would be helpful. Sire. I grab my laptop from inside and pull up the documentation. Look, here's the original development plan for Pine Lake Estates from 2018. It specifically states, no HOA restrictions as a selling point. But check this out. I click through to another tab. There is a registered HOA. But it's for Pine Valley Estates, 12 miles south of here. Officer Chen examines the screen, and his expression grows darker. Ma'am, are you Victoria Blackwell of 847 Maple Street? Pine Valley Estates? Victoria's face goes completely white. The confident neighborhood dictator from 10 minutes ago has vanished, replaced by someone who looks like they're about to be sick. That's... How did you? Because you are registered as HOA president. Officer Chen says slowly, of a completely different neighborhood. So either you're confused about where you live, or... He trails off, but the implication hangs heavy in the air. That's when I notice we're starting to attract an audience. Beth Morrison from next door is walking over, followed by Harold Kim from across the street. Then the elderly couple from the blue house, whose names I don't know yet. Word travels fast in a small lakeside community, especially when there are police cars involved. Is everything okay over here? Beth asks, but she's looking directly at Victoria with an expression I can't quite read. Actually, ma'am, Maybe you can help clarify something. Officer Chen says, "This lady claims to be your HOA president. Have you been paying homeowners association fees?" Beth's expression shifts from concern to something approaching anger. $200 a month for the past 2 years. She said it was for community maintenance and compliance monitoring. $200 a month? Harold Kim steps forward. She told me it was for lake access, preservation, and property value protection. Officer Chen is taking notes now, and I can see him shifting into full investigation mode. How many of you have been paying fees to Mrs. Blackwell? One by one. Hands go up. Beth. Harold. The elderly couple who introduced themselves as the Washingtons. And 3 more neighbors I recognize but haven't officially met. 7 families. All paying monthly fees to someone who has no legal authority to collect them. And what did she tell you these fees were for? Officer Chen continues. The stories start pouring out. Community pool maintenance for a pool that doesn't exist. Legal compliance monitoring for regulations that were never real. Property value protection services that consisted of Victoria walking around telling people what they couldn't do in their own yards. She made me remove my vegetable garden. Beth says, her voice rising with indignation. Said it was aesthetically non-compliant and could attract pests that would impact community standards. She forced my kids to take down their treehouse. Harold adds, claimed it was a safety liability that could result in homeowners association insurance complications. Officer Chen looks at Victoria, who has been getting smaller and smaller throughout this testimony. Ma'am, do you have a business license for collecting these fees? Are these funds being held in an official HOA account with proper oversight? Victoria's voice comes out as barely a whisper. The money goes into a community improvement fund. What community improvement fund? Officer Chen asks. Where is this fund held? And who has oversight of the expenditures? The silence that follows is answer enough. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to come with me to the station. We need to discuss these community fees you've been collecting. And I need to contact the fraud investigation unit. That's when Victoria completely breaks down. The tears start flowing. And suddenly she's not the imperious neighborhood tyrant anymore. She's just a middle-aged woman who looks utterly defeated. My husband left me 2 years ago. She sobs. I lost my law license because of the divorce proceedings. I couldn't afford to keep living in Pine Valley. So I moved here. But I needed to feel like I still mattered. Like I still had some kind of purpose and authority. The assembled neighbors look at each other with a mixture of anger and unexpected sympathy. This isn't just about money. It's about someone so desperate to feel important that she created an elaborate fantasy and dragged an entire community into it. I never meant for it to go this far. Victoria continues. It started as just organizing a few community events. But then people started listening to me, treating me like I had real authority. And the money, I needed the money to survive. Officer Chen's expression softens slightly, but he maintains his professional demeanor. Ma'am, intent doesn't change the fact that you've been collecting money under false pretenses. That's fraud. Regardless of your personal circumstances, what happens to the money we paid? Beth asks. Any funds collected will need to be returned. Officer Chen explains. Mrs. Blackwell, you're under arrest for fraud and impersonating a public official. You have the right to remain silent. As the handcuffs click into place, I find myself feeling an unexpected mix of satisfaction and sadness. Justice is being served. But watching someone's entire false identity crumble in real time is harder to celebrate than I expected. 3 weeks later, I'm hosting what my neighbors have dubbed the first annual Freedom to Grill Festival. It started as just my regular Saturday barbecue, but Beth brought her famous potato salad, and Harold showed up with bratwurst. The Washingtons contributed homemade cornbread. And before long, we had 15 neighbors in my backyard. Everyone cooking something different. The best part? Everyone's doing exactly what they want on their own property. Beth's vegetable garden is flourishing and producing enough tomatoes to share with half the neighborhood. Harold's kids rebuilt their treehouse, and it's become the unofficial neighborhood headquarters for impromptu gatherings. The Washingtons put up the most elaborate bird feeder setup I've ever seen, attracting species I didn't even know lived around here. Property values haven't collapsed. The lake hasn't been polluted. No one's been injured by unauthorized vegetable gardens or traumatized by non-regulation bird feeders. When people are free to enjoy their property the way they want, the world doesn't end. Victoria was sentenced to 18 months probation and ordered to pay full restitution and $47,000. She'd collected over 3 years from families across our neighborhood. She also has to perform 200 hours of community service, which includes financial literacy counseling and therapy sessions addressing her control issues. The ripple effects reached further than any of us initially realized. We discovered she'd been operating similar schemes in 2 other neighborhoods before moving to Pine Lake. The district attorney's office opened a broader investigation into HOA fraud across the county, uncovering a pattern of vulnerable people being targeted by individuals claiming false authority. Our case became the foundation for new legislation requiring verification of HOA legitimacy before any fees can be collected. What started as a simple barbecue dispute became a catalyst for protecting property owners throughout Colorado. Sometimes standing up for your right to grill a burger can spark changes that help thousands of people you'll never meet. The transformation in our community goes deeper than just removing fake restrictions. People wave to each other now instead of hiding when Victoria used to make her rounds. Kids play freely across property lines without parents worrying about violation notices. The Washingtons started a neighborhood book club that meets monthly on different decks overlooking the lake. Harold organized weekend fishing trips. And Beth's garden has inspired 3 other families to start growing vegetables. This experience changed me too. As someone who usually avoids conflict, I learned that sometimes standing up for what's right requires stepping outside your comfort zone. I've become the unofficial tech consultant for our community, helping neighbors research property laws and verify any future claims of authority. We even have a group chat now where people share updates and ask for advice. Last week, someone posted about a door-to-door salesman claiming city authority to inspect water heaters. Within minutes, we'd verified he was a scammer and alerted the proper authorities. Once you've been fooled once, you develop good radar for detecting fake authority. Surprisingly, she sent me a letter 6 months after the arrest. What she wrote changed everything I thought I knew about this whole situation. But that's a story for another video. The real lesson here isn't just about questioning authority or verifying claims, though those are important. It's about understanding that sometimes the people who try to control us are more scared and broken than we realize. Victoria's need to feel important, to matter in some way, after losing everything that defined her identity, led her down a path that hurt a lot of people, including herself. Our neighborhood is genuinely better now. We have real community events that people choose to attend rather than feeling obligated. We look out for each other's properties when someone's out of town. The kids play together across yards without worrying about violating imaginary regulations. And yes, I still grill every Saturday. Sometimes alone, sometimes with a crowd, but always on my own terms. Your property rights are only as strong as your willingness to defend them with facts and research, not aggression. And sometimes the biggest bullies are really just the most frightened people who've lost their way. Next time someone claims authority over your property, ask 3 simple questions. What's your legal standing? Where's the official documentation? Who granted you this power? If they can't answer with actual paperwork and evidence, then congratulations. You've just met someone who's confused their personal preferences with the law. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some burgers to flip, and I don't need anyone's permission to enjoy my Saturday afternoon exactly the way I choose.